Welcome to Your Life Podcast, the place where life becomes that little bit simpler. Thank you for joining me on the Your Life Podcast. I'm Angela Lockwood, and in this episode I'm interviewed by Luke and Susie of The Luke and Susie Show. We talk about how you can take control of those excuses that you make that will often stop us from achieving the things in life that we really want to achieve. Now, there is a difference between excuses and real life reasons for why we can't do things, but knowing the difference between the two could be a real game changer for you truly living the life that you choose. Enjoy.
Faith Family Culture, it's Luke and Susie with you, and we're joined by Angela Lockwood from angelalockwood.com.au, the author of the book Switch Off.
We're going to get to her in just a second.
We are, but we've been looking at the last few weeks with Angela, we've been looking at these 10 questions to ask yourself as you evaluate your year. The question we're looking at today is bang in my, it's pushing a button with me at the moment. I know that this is really significant in my world.
We have been, to try and get through the list, we have of 10 questions to ask yourself. We have been grouping some of them together.
We have.
But Suze, we need to stop and degroup here because there's some personal therapy happening here on the excuses that we're making. More on this next with Luke and, Luke and Susie.
Angela Lockwood from angelalockwood.com.au has compiled a list of 10 questions for us to evaluate our year that has been and the year that's had to sort of help ourselves position ourselves well for the year that's coming. And Angela, we've looked at what am I most proud of this year? What have been my biggest lessons? What patterns have I noticed happening? What has distracted me from my goals? And the one today is, what excuses have I been making this year?
I think, Susie, I might need to ask you the question, what excuses have you been making this year?
And that's all we've got time for on today's show.
Okay, let me give you a little bit of background story here, Angela. So my sister-in-law asked me to do the Kokoda Challenge with her this year, which I did in Brisbane. I didn't finish. I didn't get to 48 kilometres, but I got to about 35. And then I started doing parkrun later in this year. So just the last few weeks I've been doing parkrun. Now, as I run, or as I walk mostly, my mind has been sort of starting to look at things in my life, and I feel things about myself. It's kind of like this space that is created as I walk and as I run. And I have been really confronted by the fact that this isn't just a this year thing. This is my whole life. I have been making excuses. And it feels really overwhelming to ask this question because it feels like I'm dealing with 43 years of baggage to say, what excuses have I been making this year? So I need you to simplify this for me. That's what I need you to do.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, let's see if I can. And first of all, I love that you've gotten to 43 years going, okay, this has been a thing for me. Imagine if you get to 50 years, 60 years, and you still haven't asked yourself this question. You know, there's a lot more years that you have to unravel. So there's no wrong time for you to start this. There's only the best time is to start it right now. So asking yourself this question, let's not leave it for another 10, 15, 20 years. And for all listeners, if this question about what excuses have I been making this year does make you feel uncomfortable, brilliant, because that's exactly what it's meant to do. You know, excuses aren't a comfortable thing. They're stories that we create to stop us from doing things. And so it's time now to change the story.
Okay, so where do we start then? Like, should I just be looking at this year's worth of excuses?
The list is long. How do we narrow it down?
I would start with this year. Absolutely, because that's one thing we all do. We all make things so overwhelming. We try to, change our lives in, 3 steps or less, or we try to, get fit within 2 weeks and then we burn out. What we do is just take it slowly. Take the time to sit and go through the 10 questions, look at what the excuses are over this year. And I can guarantee you, if this is the first time you've done something like this or asked yourself these questions, the patterns will probably be the same year after year after year. Okay, so I would encourage you just to sit and look at the year and go, well, what excuses have I been making? We all have our own story. We all have our own excuse story. My son really asked me the other day, I was telling him about how fit I used to be. And his question was, how come you're not anymore?
Yeah.
Shuck him out.
So it was really interesting because when somebody can ask you that question, what I was saying is, well, I said it's because it's really hard having with your kids. And he goes, but we can just come with you.
Right.
And then every question he came back with was, which was really frustrating. It was a very insightful and very intelligent question that I needed to be asked right at that point in time. And what I realised is that I was using my children as an excuse for why I wasn't as fit as what I used to be. So by having somebody ask you these questions, like, well, what excuses? That's just an excuse and there's a solution to it. Really quickly, the story stops and you've got to start a new story, which is often one, hopefully, that's more empowering and more exciting for you.
We know that there's a difference between a reason and an excuse, but where is that line and how do we differentiate in this question we're challenging ourselves with? More next with Angela Lockwood. Luke and Susie with Faith, Family, Culture. And Susie, our guest Angela Lockwood right now, behind the 10 questions to ask yourself this year, the author of the book Switch Off and from angelalockwood.com.au. Now, Suze, one of the questions we're talking about right now, question number 5, what excuses have I been making this year? Challenging one for you personally.
Yeah.
We're talking about just not letting ourselves just derail. Angela was sharing about the fact that she was using her kids as an excuse for her fitness and health. Angela, though, we know that there's a difference between a reason something is and an excuse to dismiss why it continues to be. But where is that line in identifying the answer to this question? How do we identify what's a reason versus what's an excuse?
Oh, I think this is such a great question to ask, because we often just pop them both in the same thing. We both just go, I can't do this because of this reason. But often what the reason is an excuse. Now, some of the people I look to the most and inspire me the most in life are the people who you would look at and go, they can't do it. So people like Turia Pitt, for example, she's phenomenal. She, if people haven't heard of Turia, please go to her website, turiapitt.com, and have a look at her, and look at the things that she has achieved. To most people, if they were in the same situation, so she has been told so many times that she can't. But she's done things beyond anything that most of us will ever want to or think of achieving in our lives. Another person who inspires me is Janine Shepherd, who, again, please look up her website, Janine Shepherd. People who have had really horrific things happen in their lives but have gone on despite the reason. They've stopped the excuses and they've gone on to live a life that is so full and is so full of inspiring things that's causing a beautiful ripple effect through our planet, through people's lives. So I would really strongly encourage people not to get stuck in their reason, because there's plenty of people who have got worse reasons than you who have gone on to break the excuse down and live amazing lives.
Is it fair to say that we've identified the reasons in what we're proud of, what our lessons are, what the patterns are, and what's distracting us? They're the reasons things are the way they are. But to say that they're the reasons why they're going to continue to be, that becomes an excuse. Like identifying what's happened in the past is one thing, but change and not allowing that to define the future is something different.
I think that's great. Absolutely. And asking yourself, what excuses have I been making this year? Please don't see it as something that you've done wrong. So if everyone makes excuses, we're probably all going to do it at some stage today, but it's not beating yourself up about it and going, oh my gosh, I'm such a loser, I've failed. It's going, oh, okay, why have I been making these excuses? Why is it, that these excuses keep creeping up? And just be more inquisitive around why you're making the excuses rather than pulling yourself down further, because then what's going to happen is you're going to come up with more reasons why you can't do it.
I think
so. Just be really kind on yourself when you're going through this question.
Yeah, and I think that's important. I think for me the key phrase that you said in there was about breaking down the excuses, and it was just a little phrase you threw in there. But to me, as I start to think about it, I think, well, you know what? When I do that, I think I'm probably going to find some common threads and a couple of specific things that I can then work on rather than 100 different excuses. It's probably going to come down to 2 or 3 sort of little things that are at the core of each one. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It'll be like life themes, they're called. So themes that keep popping up. And that's why I love going through these 10 questions with people right at this time of the year, because it's just giving you some breathing space to go, hang on a minute, what are things over this year that I want to take through to 2019? But what are some of the things that, man, I'm so happy to leave behind? There are these things where you can leave it behind and there's beautiful things that you can take forward. And that's why I get really excited when we come up to New Year's. It's just a new cycle. it's not, it's not it can be a new beginning for people, but I look at it as just another cycle. We've made some decisions, we've made some choices in our lives. It's just time to make some new ones that we're really proud of and really happy with, because, year after year, things get closer and closer to the end, so we may as well make the most of what we've got.
We're making some changes and some different decisions for 2019 thanks to Angela Lockwood and the 10 questions to ask yourself. AngelaLockwood.com.au to get those questions from the blog section. Thank you, Angela.
Thanks so much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. To find more ways to slow down and simplify your life, follow the Your Life podcast on Spotify and iTunes. And let's connect on LinkedIn and Instagram. Just look for Angela Lockwood. Don't forget, it's your life. You choose how to live it.